I'm Mike Hirby, owner and winemaker. This is my wife, Schatzi.
Schatzi Throckmorton, owner and business manager.
We started Relic together in 2001, and we were both very into wine. We had moved here a couple of years before, and we met here. All our heroes were making wines the old way, and we decided to start Relic based on old methods and old traditions and the old principles of winemaking. So we started with 3 barrels of Pinot Noir in 2001, and have been growing slowly ever since.
We source all of our grapes from vineyards. We have been now doing this is our 20th harvest this year. We're very excited about that. And so we've been working with a lot of our vineyard sources for a really long time. And we've been able to, over the years, cultivate these amazing relationships. And because we are such wine lovers at heart, we make so many different things. Mike, with his day job, is the consulting winemaker for a number of tiny, small family vineyards. And then I'm also the business manager for Barron's Family Winery up on Spring Mountain. And so with our day jobs, we primarily work with Cabernet. And so Relic is really our playground to do all the things we can't do with other people's money. So we do Chardonnay and Pinot, Mourvedre, Grenache, Carignan, Syrah, Petit Syrah, Cab, and Cab Franc. So we do a host of things, and we could never own a piece of property that would grow all of those well. So we look for amazing vineyards where we can work with growers and farmers that will farm to our specifications. So we contract for certain rows or a certain acre, and sometimes it's a grower's just front yard, and that's the entire vineyard, and so we get that entire spot. Or we do Carignan from this vineyard up in Calistoga that the vines were planted around 1901. So we try to look for just really cool, interesting things where we can be stewards of these amazing plots, and kind of like help protect Napa history, and then just make really beautiful Chards and Pinots from Sonoma, which we just absolutely love.
So we're wine lovers at heart, and we drink wines from around the world, right? And so we enjoy wines in a variety of different styles, and we actually think that's really important, right? We eat a lot of different types of food, we drink a lot of different types of wine, and we take our inspiration really from authentic and honest wines in a lot of different styles. So we do drink a lot of Burgundy and a lot of Champagne, we have to admit, but we're also take a lot of inspiration from other California producers. There were a lot of pioneers over the years really that showed us really the way, and so we find our inspiration in a lot of different ways. We make wines using the old methods, really not necessarily because we want to make old world style wines, even though we appreciate that, but we feel like native yeast fermentation and some whole cluster inclusion in the fermentation and that sort of thing leads to making the most complex wines based on that a site can really do, right? A vineyard can do, and so it gives us sort of using the old methods mean we're making more California wines, we feel like, rather than making more old world style wines.
We love European wines. We love South African wines. We love wines from all over the world. But yeah, using these techniques, we also know that we live in California, and every time we go to make a wine, we want the vineyard and the vintage to really be the rock star. We don't necessarily want to have just a house palate and have every wine taste the same every year. And that's just a stylistic choice that we've made. We really feel like to be great stewards of the land and really build authentic wines to our minds is to always have the vineyard and the vintage really kind of show off.
2014, the prior Cabernet Franc is a wine that we've been making since 2010, so it was the 5th rendition. It is all of the Cabernet Franc in it comes from Frediani Vineyard, an amazing vineyard in Calistoga, and the old vines that Schatzi was referring to earlier from 1901, the Carignan, are planted at Jim's uncle's place, Alfred Frediani Vineyard. They're 2 separate plots, but both of the last name Frediani. It's an incredible gravelly plot of Cabernet Franc. About 35 years old in 2014, and usually dry farmed. There's an irrigation setup there, but it normally doesn't get used. With those old vines have really, really deep roots in all that old gravel. There's not much water there, so there's not a water table or a clay lens or anything for the roots to get down into, but with a lot of depth and all that gravel, they do really well. So very, very thick-skinned Cabernet Franc that is exposed to the sun quite a bit in a fairly warm microclimate. But also in that area we have really cold nights, so you get like a lot of acid retention as the grapes are ripening and that sort of thing. And then it's blended with a little bit of Cabernet Sauvignon from just up the road, Pickett Road, to Kennefic Ranch, which is near the mouth of the canyon, basically on the same alluvial fan coming out of Simmons Canyon. Actually, Cabernet Sauvignon, when in this case blended with Cabernet Franc, actually softens the wine and gives it a little bit of depth. The Cabernet Franc has such thick skins that it is really tannic and very, very powerful.
Even from a site that's that warm. I mean, Calistoga is definitely known as kind of a warmer part of Napa Valley, but yeah, the Cab Sauv definitely like kind of loosens it up a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. But we love the Cab Franc just because it has so much minerality and so much sort of floral perfume, and it has that power and richness of Cabernet Sauvignon, but at the same time, there's just something really ethereal and complex about it that we love.
Lots of complexity, kind of like an intellectual complexity to it, which is kind of neat.
What I love right now about this wine are like the deep kind of raspberry notes that it has to it, right? That sort of spectrum of fruit is pretty remarkable. And also like a lot of stoniness and minerality, floral perfume. There's definitely that kiss of French oak there, and you get that and some really beautiful spice notes and some vanillin notes. But we hope that those are, really, really well integrated. That's the whole point, right? They bring sort of power and energy to the wine without overwhelming. So everything that comes into Relic, all the grapes get sorted, double sorted really. We cluster sort, and then we berry sort as well on a shaker table to blow out any flower particles or anything that are still around. And in fact, the grapes even go off of a shelf, basically where we have an air blade, and we're able to variably control the speed of the air so we can blow out any leaf particles or any raisins actually that happen, like if as they do, especially in warmer climate areas, we can blow those out so they get sorted out. The wines are then fermented naturally with naturally occurring yeasts, and this Cabernet Franc usually spends about 2 weeks on the skins, so not an extended maceration, but nothing like too short. We normally just press at dryness, based on tannin quality though, and everything that we do at Relic is really we're really responding to what is happening in the tank all the time, right? So any pressing decisions, sometimes you might have an extremely tannic year that gets pressed early while the wine is sweet, or you might do an extended maceration to elongate the tannins where we're on the skins for maybe 40, 45 days. In 2014 was the height of the drought years, really, but we had really nice tannin quality, we felt like, and so the wine was on the skins for about 2 weeks. And then in barrel, we're in about 75% new French oak barrels for 21 months typically. It's typically bottled in like June of the second year. Generally, and in the case of the 2014, we really believe in minimal handling of the wine, so we try to get everything right in the vineyard. So we're dialing in the viticulture with the growers as much as possible to have the most even quality of fruit, and then we're looking to get everything right during the fermentation so that when the wines go to barrel, we can be as hands-off as possible. That's really what it's all about to us. So if we have the wines that are going through a phase, in the winery, and we have to fix a problem, we feel like every time we have to fix a problem, we're here for the wines as the winemakers. At the same time, we try to not encounter problems.
Yeah, we're definitely we're not really a recipe winery. So I mean, every year, each varietal gets handled differently depending on what Mother Nature decided to do.